Okay, okay. Hey, morning, Tyre. Glad to see you're here. I know I had the music playing a long time this morning, almost 3.5 minutes, but it's already starting off to be one of those days. But that's okay. Those are the days that test us are the days that make us stronger, right? Oh, I was so beat up yesterday. I was ready for bed at 7:30. I managed to stay up until 9. But I could have easily gone to bed at 7:30 last night. Yesterday was one hell of it just beat the living crap out of me. But that's what happens sometimes. You get those days. All right, so let's start this off here. And as what happened earlier, I think it was last week, uh, I got involved in the conversation on another platform. And these character limitations that these platforms put in. All right, I can understand why they do it because that's room, that's space, that's uh, that they can't afford to let people post uh 15, 20,000 character limit, 15, 20,000 character post. And these 160 and 200 and 200 uh, character post limitations sometimes just, depending on the conversation that you're trying to have, they just don't make it. There's just not enough to express a point. And this conversation we got into, and I can understand this. I understand why this man has his position. He's a convicted felon. He's out of jail. He's making a good life for himself now. He's being fairly successful with what he's doing. He's got his own clothing brand out. He's running an outreach program. He's running a halfway house. Uh, by all indications, he's really turned his life around. And he wants to say that it is unconstitutional for convicted felons to lose their voting rights. And I disagree with him. I really do. Um, your right to vote, I believe, is already limited in the Constitution to U.S. citizens, to age, and to other requirements. All right, so it's not an unlimited right to vote. I also believe that a convicted felon, people who should not be able to automatically, cheeseburgers are yummy. Yes, they are. Mr. Stenchever, ooh, cheese cheeseburgers are amazing. I even like blue cheese on mine if you want to talk about a stinky burger. I like blue cheese on my burgers. My wife doesn't, but I do. But I honestly believe that if you have proven yourself unwilling and unable, I think blue cheese is amazing. Ramen, good morning. I think blue cheese is amazing. It's wonderful. I also like Hoda, and I like several. other cheeses besides, the good old various versions of cheddar or American plastic cheese or whatever else you want to call them. I mean, I love cheeses of almost all types, and including stinky cheeses. They've all got uh, a place in the on the my dinner table at least. Okay, Tyre, I can, and you're almost at the same place I am. Okay. However, if we are going to extend rights back to someone because they've repaid their debt to society, as you say, then should they not get all their rights back? All the rights that they had prior to going into prison, all the rights that any other American citizen of their age has. But if you're willing to say no to that, particularly the Second Amendment rights, then I use the same argument that you use to restrict their Second Amendment rights to restrict them from the right to vote and any other right. It's that simple. If the society, if the court systems, if the political systems have determined that you can't have your Second Amendment rights back, then you shouldn't get your right to vote back or any of your other rights. But that's not the way our country works. And I honestly believe, again, that a person can get their rights back. I'm not foregoing anybody saying, okay, you've been in prison, you can never vote again simply because you've been in prison. But I also don't believe. Wait, why is my air conditioning kicking on? All right. Okay, I've got to shut my air off because I've got windows open. The wife must have turned on the air last night. All right. Okay. Okay. And Tyre, show me in the first 10 amendments where it says the right to vote. Those are your inalienable rights, the first 10 amendments. Show me where that's at. Bit of foretelling there, Sean. Bit of foretelling. I don't agree that somebody should, the minute they get out of jail, get their or prison, that they should get their rights back. I simply don't agree with that. I'm not even happy. Florida's pretty strict on giving them back. They get them back once all their sentences complete, including paying of fines. Where is okay? Let's take a look at this map here, or this list by list, state by state here. This is from Ballotpedia, and it is overall overview of voting rights for people convicted of a felony 2023. All right. First column is rights are never lost. So in DC, Maine, and Vermont, You never lose your rights to vote. And as I see that, let me make certain I got this right. Uh, okay, people in D.C., people convicted of felony always retain their right to vote. And I also believe that includes voting while they are in prison. Okay, so that's interesting in and of itself. That while you are in prison, you still get a ballot to handed to you to vote. Okay, First Amendment. All right. Let's see here. Find the exact quotation here. All right. Congress shall make no law respecting of an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, abridging the freedom of speech or press, the right of people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. I'm sorry, I don't see anything in there about voting there, Tyre. So I'm going to say you're wrong. That's not one of the five things listed. Five things listed: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the freedom to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. All right. I do not see the right to vote listed there. No, voting is not a redress of grievances. Redress of grievances is when you can go and uh, protest in front of City Hall. Stand there at the big sign. That's your redress of grievances. Voting is not a redress of grievances. Voting is not a protest. Okay, get back over here to this. All right. Rights restored after prison. You got that's a pretty good length there list there. Uh, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. Then rights restored after prison and probation, California. So in California, you have to complete your probation. Rights restored after prison, probation, and parole, and that's Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Nebraska, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, West Virginia, Wisconsin. And rights never automatically restored. Alabama, Arizona, Delaware, Florida, Iowa, Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee, Virginia, and Wyoming. Oh, it's plus two more. Oh, Utah and Washington over here on rights restored after prison. Now, let me get back over here where I can see the chat. No, voting is for you. You're not redressing a grievance by voting. When you vote, you are electing someone. You are saying you want this particular individual to represent you in the government, or you're voting for or against a law to be put on the books in some cases. But you know, if you've got a personal grievance, that's a thing that you have to address as an individual in person in front of your elected officials or other government employees. Voting is not redress of grievances. I think that would be a bit of a much of a stretch rather. Um, Let me take a look at this real quick. All right. Something I want to look up here real quick, and that is does not answer my question. Okay, Maine and Vermont voting rights are retained while incarcerated for a felony conviction in Maine and Vermont. So yes, Maine and Vermont, they go around and hand you a ballot because obviously you can't go to the ballot place. Um, but anyway, back to in general here, my and I want personally, again, my opinion for what it's worth. If you want, and we can, and if somebody wants to come on and discuss this with me, I'll be more than glad to shoot you a link. Overall, if the people want to allow you to have your right to vote back, then you get all your rights back. All of them. And I do include the Second Amendment rights. If they want to restrict your Second Amendment rights, then any other rights are still on the table. And if you are such a bad person, such an untrustworthy person, that you are not allowed to have a firearm for self-protection or used for target shooting, for going to the range, for whatever, for hunting animals, not people, then if you're not trustworthy enough of a person to that, then you're not trustworthy enough of a person to have the right to vote. If you're such a bad individual, if you are so unwilling to live within the uh, uh, social norms of society in one aspect of your life, then you should not, have right in saying how that society is governed. All right, that's cool, Tyre. Let's see here. Okay, Tyler, you're if the people believe you are a danger, you should still be locked away behind bars. That's I would not argue too hard against that even. But if you are a danger, a menace to society, if you've been deemed for some reason unable to live within the rules of society, then why should you have the right to uh, have an influence on how that society is governed? Now, in many states here, as Ballotpedia shows, you've got to complete your prison, probation, parole, and I just in the state of Florida, I'm not going to speak for any other states because I'm not 100% certain. They also include that you have to complete any restitution payments. So if you get out of prison and you owe the state of Florida $10,000 and you owe the individual or the family of the individual that you harmed in the commission of your crime $100,000, then until you pay off that debt, and that is part of your sentence, until you pay that off, you can't get your right to vote back. Now, the claim is put out, well, that's unfair because a rich person can afford to pay off these debts and a poor person can't. And of course, blacks, women and minorities most affected. Once again, that comes out. How dare you? Women women can't earn as much as men, and minorities they're so badly treated in this country that they can never earn enough money to pay back their debts. Well, again, you don't normally and under even not even ideal but decent conditions. Hey, morning, Retro. You don't go to jail as an innocent person. Has it happened? Yes. Will it happen again? Yes. There are going to be, unfortunately, individuals put into jail or into prison that don't deserve to go there. We just had a prime example of it here in Florida not too long ago. That gentleman, that Luke Cure or Leonard Cure, I believe his name was, spent 16 years in prison, was awarded over $800,000 afterwards because he was spent 16 years in prison as an innocent man. And then he turns around and attacks a cop and ends up dead. So is this system absolutely perfect? Absolutely not. But there are a lot of safeguards built in the system to that in if the system is honest, if the individuals in the system, and when I say individuals, I'm talking about the police, the district attorney, the judge, even the jury. If all these people are following the rules, an innocent man will not go to jail. Unfortunately, as I've freely admit, there are corrupt police out there. There are corrupt district attorneys. And unfortunately, there's corrupt judges, and there are witnesses, or not witnesses, but jury members who have known to have been corrupted through bribes, promises, or whatever. So on occasion, I'm it's I'm sad to say, it distresses me to say that innocent people do go to jail. But overall, if a person's in prison, they did a crime. They willingly shook their, thumbed their nose at society and said, screw you, I'm going to commit these crimes. I'm going to sell these drugs. I'm going to rob this store. I'm going to go on a shooting spree. I'm going to, do whatever. I'm going to break laws and I'm going to break them every day of the week. Oh, where are you at, Duck Dog? And good morning to you. Okay, Tyre, up here to your question. What about the people in Chicago who are having an issue with the mayor and his decisions isn't voting him out a redress of grievances against his leadership or policies? That your voting is not a redress of grievances. All right. No, Tyre, when I punish my son, there are several privileges he lost for months. Other privileges he lost for days or weeks. Or he may have just lost them for a few hours. I once took away his driver's license for, I think kept him for about 3 months. Wouldn't let him drive. Why? Because he got pulled over for doing donuts in the middle of a road in the wife's car. So I took away his driver's license. Well, Tyler, when my son turned 18 and he moved out of the house, well, he didn't move out of the house until he was almost 21. But yeah, once he become an adult and moved out of the house, and there's my authority over him as a father became uh, all but non-existent. So, there's that is not the same as somebody going to prison for selling drugs or for shooting someone or whatever, be it a violent crime or nonviolent crime, spending years in prison for thumbing your nose at at the society and its rules. So, uh, you know, and my son, for the most part, the worst trouble he ever got into was that deal with his driver's license. That's the worst trouble he ever did as a young man. The state's authority. Okay, once a person has convicted, their has completed out all their sentences, probation, parole, restitution, uh, time in confinement of whatever style, jail, prison, whatever you want, wherever they are sentenced to, you're right. The state's authority over them ends. But that doesn't mean they get all their rights back. Now, if the Supreme Court were to take up a case and decide that upon completion of a sentence, of your sentence, all rights are restored to you, the okay, all rights were restored. I say, okay, fine, no problem. That would be a decision that I could live with. Where I find the decision that what we currently do is it's cherry picking which rights an individual gets back afterwards. Okay. And I'm still of the opinion, and I've not read anything or had anybody tell me anything that convinced me I'm wrong, that if you are not trustworthy enough of a citizen to get your Second Amendment rights back, then you're not trustworthy enough of a citizen to get your voting rights back. You're not trustworthy enough of a citizen to get released from other restrictions until otherwise uh, deemed by uh, by society, and in which the way our governments are set up by the state in which you live, or by if you're convicted of a federal crime, then by the federal government. But again, I'm going to go back to the fact that if a person has lost, if society has determined that you've lost your Second Amendment rights because you're a convicted felon, then you also lose your right to vote. You also lose any other right. You also lose any other rights as determined by the Constitution. You can still have rights, limitations put on your right to travel. You can still have limitations put on anything else that we do. So for me, it's an all or nothing game. There's no halfway about it. It either you get all your rights back or you get none of them back. Now, if it were to be a step-by-step process, after a year out of prison, you've been a good boy. You haven't committed any crimes. You haven't been arrested for anything. You're not being suspected of any crimes. Then you can get a right back. Another year, you get another one. Another year, another one. But it's automatic. But if something happens in that year, then you're back to square one, square zero, and you don't get anything back. Duck Dog, I don't know about that. I really don't. Well, that depends on what your lifestyle is like, Tyre, on whether or not you live long enough to get your rights back. I'm not saying that graduated system would make me happy. I would still find fault within it because, again, if you, I'm of the opinion if you get one right back, you get them all back simultaneously. You had your rights stripped from you when you were in prison. You had your rights stripped from you while you were in jail. Once you get one right back, it's you get them all. The Constitution is not a Chinese menu. It's not a pick one from column A, one from column B, one from column C. You're protected. Every U.S. citizen is protected by the entirety of the Constitution. And the rights specifically mentioned in the Bill of Rights are the ones that should be automatically returned to an individual once they've completed their sentence, the entirety of their sentence. And if society is saying, no, you shouldn't have these rights back, then you don't get any of them back. And Tyre, I agree with you. As long as is 100% every right, just not some of them. That's the argument I'm putting forth. As long as if the government, if the people want to give back rights, and let's face it, there's a political uh, calculation being put in here because this push to give back rights wasn't done by the Republican Party; it was done by the progressive left wing. Okay, and what that is they are expecting the Democrats are expecting all these votes or the vast majority of these votes to go to the Democratic Party, to the Democratic candidate. That's why they're picking and choosing, saying, hey, we're going to give you back your right to vote. So vote for us for giving it back to you. We're here for you. Well, then if we're going to do this, let's be honest brokers and give them back their Second Amendment rights also. Oh, you can't trust them back? You can't trust them to have their Second Amendment right back? Then let's go ahead and take away their. Then how can you? If they're not enough of a citizen, a good enough of a citizen to have their Second Amendment rights back, then how can we, put any weight behind their opinion when it comes to who to vote for, or who should be governing our society? Tired. That's just it. For me, it's an all or nothing game. Um, there is no one right more important than the other. All right. In the overall scheme of things, all your rights are hold of um, equal weight. There is no one more in the overall scheme. Now, at a specific time, a certain right, your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, is more important. If you're uh, uh, trying to speak before a town hall meeting or a school board meeting, you're not there to formate to carry a gun at the school board meeting. You're there to speak your mind, to your have your freedom of speech, to redress your grievances with your government. So at that point, those parts of this First Amendment are the parts that you are exerting. But when I walk out of my house and I go down to Walmart, or I'm out to the beach or out to the local park and I carry my firearm with me, then at that point my Second Amendment rights, my right to keep and bear arms, is the most important right because that's the one that I'm exerting at that time. So, but overall, if you were to sit there and tell me I had to pick out one right to be the most important of the rights, I couldn't do it because I don't believe any one right is more important than the other. They all uh, hold equal weight uh, in the abstract, and whichever one that you are exerting at that particular time is the most important right at that particular time. I hope I'm making myself clear here. Now, it's like when I talk about corruption in the government. The question is there corruption or isn't there corruption? Is this person corrupt or isn't they? Aren't they corrupt? That's not the question. Question is that what level of corruption is happening within that government, within that individual's office? Because I truly believe there is no such thing as a non-corrupted uh, governmental body. It's just how, what level of corruption are you willing to accept? And yeah, I know I've had people come on and say, well, there's no corruption that's acceptable. Well, I can agree with that. I In the abstract, in a perfect utopia, I could, I agree with you, but in that case, there'd be no people running the government because everybody running in that government is going to do something that could be labeled as corruption. They uh, gave more weight to their nieces or their daughters or their son-in-law's job application than they gave to somebody else's. All right. They didn't, office hours are 9 to 5 and they left every day at 4. Now, so there's always a level, going to be a level there, something that happens. Again, Tyre, I'm not against felons getting their right to vote back. Where my argument is that people who want to automatically give back rights, uh, they want to hunt and peck which rights they give back. They don't want to make it everybody getting back their rights. They want to give back the rights that they feel will make them and their party more likely to garner more votes because while we ensured they have the right to vote, therefore they're going to vote for us. Now they're not going to sit there and admit that they want to be the party of criminals, the party that uh, fought for criminals. That's not the way they want to play it. Excuse me for a second. They don't want to sit there and say we fought for criminals. They're going to sit there and say we fought to give back voice to the minority community. We get we wanted, minorities are most directly affected by this. Therefore, we want to give them back. We want to redress this because of racism. Racism is why more blacks or more Hispanics or more people of this skin tone or that skin tone commit crimes. So it's racism as to why they lost their right to vote in the first place. Again, it falls back to the didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. Why am I being arrested? Okay, Tyler, you have a good one then. When you get to work. And if somebody wants to jump on, I just posted the link. If somebody wants to jump on and discuss this with me, otherwise I'll just give it another minute or two and then I will head on to the next subject, which is our fabulous FBI. I know it always seems like I beat these horses to death. I don't know if I spend too much time. Do I spend too much time talking on one particular subject? Because I know most streamers, most people, at least ones I listen to, very rarely do they spend 45 minutes to an hour talking on one particular subject. But I mean, for me, I usually do. I usually spend most of my time, uh, on most of my stream on one particular subject because there it takes time to express to go through it all. So anyway, all right. Well, then let's get off of this. And this is the reason why. This is one of the reasons why I've talking about the FBI here. Where is it? Here we go. Here we'll start off with this here with this Newsweek article. Okay. Trump followers targeted by the FBI as 2024 election nears. The federal government believes that the threat of violence and major civil disturbances around 2024 presidential election is so great that it has quietly created a new category of extremists that seeks to track and counter Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. Well, at least they didn't call it maggot and put in that small lowercase t there that so many places do. The challenge for the FBI, the primary federal agency of law enforcement, is to pursue and prevent what it calls domestic terrorism without direct reference to political parties or affiliations, even though the vast majority of its current anti-government investigations are of Trump supporters, according to classified data obtained by Newsweek. So, am I not only going to be banned by the Russian government, but I'm going to have my own government investigating everything that I say and do? I just read your disclaimer, Raman. Thank you. All views expressed are only the views of the individual who are expressing them. Do not attribute my views to Dar. Don't attribute my views to Raman or anybody else that happens to appear on this stream or anybody listening to this stream. And FBI, just because I do follow the and would and have supported Donald Trump in the past, there's nothing in my life that is interesting enough for you guys to try to follow me around because your car would get rather dusty. Okay? I spend the vast majority of my time either at home or doctor's appointments. So, anyway, um, the FBI is in an almost impossible position, okay, by an anonymous FBI official. Okay. The official said that the FBI is intent on stopping domestic terrorism in any repeated January 6th and the attack on the Capitol. But they had, how many hours did that protest inside of the Cannon building go on the other day before anybody was arrested and cleared out? I mean, with everything going on and all the left wing see, this here's many other people find interesting, to say the least. Interesting in quotations. Let's put that in quotations. All right. Throughout the entire year of 2020, there were hundreds of left wing protests, millions and millions of dollars worth of damage done, arson nearly nightly, people attempting to burn down buildings that government employees were in. People were in the buildings and they attempted to kill them by burning the building down around them. And then all of a sudden, a few hundred people walk into the Capitol building, most of them quite peaceful, the vast majority of them quite peaceful. And they spend months, if not years, in jail before they're even brought to trial. And then when they're convicted or plead guilty, accept deals, they spend months, if not years, in prison. One guy's in jail. A reporter for Info News is spending 6 months in jail because of what he reported, because of what he said. He didn't enter the Capitol. He was on the grounds, but he didn't enter the building. And he's going to spend 6 months in jail. The guy's first name is Owen. I can't remember his last name. Yeah, Retro, the FBI knows more about me than Santa Claus does. I wonder if I could ever get my security clearances back. I doubt it. I doubt they give me back my security clearances. But I find it amazing how the FBI and you know this FBI under its current leadership are so interested. They place so much of their energies on political supporters of Donald J. Trump than they do of the hundreds of people that are in this country illegally who are on terrorist watch lists. By focusing on the former President Trump and his MAGA supporters, the Bureau runs the risk of provoking the very anti-government activists that the terrorism agencies hope to counter. Well, yes, of course, here, if the FBI, in doing this, they're going to turn people against the government. You can't come down and start watching people and violating their rights and turn around and expect them to support you. A lot of, okay, just a sort of off-topic example. When there's lots of video evidence of this out there, you can go to YouTube and find them. You get parents going before school boards, redressing their grievances, and the school board superintendent shuts them down and has them escorted out of the building. We don't want you to talk about this subject. Well, what happens? That turns the parents against the school board. That makes the parents mad at that school board and those members. Because that school board is not allowing them to redress their grievances. That school board is attempting to silence anybody that opposes them. And by extension, opposes what the teachers in the schools are teaching the children. And then those parents get determined, they get the label being anti-government. Because of this, what the school board does. And that's just on the local level. I'm not, I'm just trying to bring this down to what happens at the local level here. Something that we can all, associate ourselves with, something we can all understand. Now, of course, I've got any dummies listening to me. But that's again, y'all that listen to me are smarter than I am on a lot of this stuff. It's just I'm out here expressing my views because that's something I've got to do because the wife tells me to shut up. She doesn't want to hear it at half the time anymore. I cut into her Hallmark time. All right. Back to the article. Especially at a time when the White House is facing congressional Republican opposition claiming that the Biden administration has weaponized the Bureau against the right wing. Okay, so the FBI and being led by a Biden appointee has determined that Trump supporters are potential terrorists and therefore has to investigate them as such. And in doing so, Republicans in Congress are claiming that the Biden administration has weaponized the Bureau against their supporters. You see how this circle goes. Biden does this, appoints this man to head the DOJ, who in turns uh, also oversees the FBI and the Secret Service and all these other agencies. They all work, you know. Then you got your heads of the individual agencies, such as the Secret Service, the head of the FBI, the head of Homeland Security. And he tells them, and all these people appointed by Biden, they all see people like me the same way. That I'm a person of wrong think because I don't agree with Biden. I don't agree with this administration. I don't agree with what they do. So because I am loudly expressing my views and getting my views out into the Ethernet through the interwebs, they could determine that, especially since I've had streams banned in Russia, that I could be a danger. Now, have I made any threats? No. All I've done is said I disagree. I think they're wrong. I think they're idiotic. I think what they're doing is not the best for this country, and that what they're doing is harming our country. But I'm not leading any pitchforks and torches and ARs and AKs heading to the White House or to the Capitol building or anywhere else. I'm just expressing, using my First Amendment rights, and I've got a half a dozen or so people, half a dozen to a dozen people sitting out there who listen to me ramble on. None of y'all are going to go out and take off to the White House. I'm not inflaming anybody to go up there and do anything bad. Oh, Retro, if I wanted complete privacy, I know where I could buy anywhere from 10 to 50 acres of land relatively inexpensively. And if you got enough money, you could take this 10 to 15 acres, have a decent living area built with solar and a well and water collection that you could live and never deal with society. There are ways you could do it. Uh, that's just not me, though. While I am not that person that goes out, I'm not a big people person, as in going out and meeting people and everything else. I still want social contact, but I mean, Ramen and I talk all the time anyway. Dar and I talk on occasion. There's other people I talk to on and offline. So that's all the social contact I personally need. My wife is the exact opposite of that. She's that person that's got to go out and uh, have physical contact with other people. That's not something I've ever needed. Yeah, yeah, Rom. Unfortunately, I'm not the quiet one. That's obvious. I've, as I found out, I've got over 409. This is like 419, 420th stream that I've done. So I may actually do something for my. If y'all want something for my 500th stream, let me know. Because I'm coming up here, in a few months, I'll have 500 streams in. So let me know when I hit that 500th stream if you all want me to do something. If we want to have an open stream, a allow 10 people on at a time, which is everybody. Just let anybody who wants on, let them all. I'm willing to do an open stream like that for my 500th stream. That actually sounds like a pretty good idea. Okay, back to the article here. Newsweek spoke to over a dozen current or former government officials who specialize in terrorism in a 3-month investigation to understand the current domestic security landscape and to evaluate Biden's administration, what they're doing with what it calls domestic terrorism. Most didn't want their names out there. Golly, I wonder why. Because, they didn't want to either talk about politics publicly or more than likely, you know, they were afraid of what would happen to them if they found out that they were speaking publicly or to a newspaper, to a journalist about what the FBI is doing. Again, how is it that anything conservatives do here is considered terrorism, but nothing the left does is? The left can, I mean, how many streets have the pro Palestine, pro Hamas people shut down in protest? And you don't see the FBI, you don't see the local police going in there and hauling all these jerks off to jail. No, I don't do kid. No, 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 no. No. You do not want to see me anywhere near a swimming pool. You do not want to see me y'all don't want to see me in the physical form that I'm in. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I am an ugly man. And if you wanted and the mere idea of seeing me in especially in a swimsuit, ugh, they don't make enough eye bleach to cover anybody for that. Let's see here. I've gotten lost in where I was at here on this article, where I wanted to go next. In a statement to Newsweek, the FBI said that the threat posed by domestic violent extremists is persistent, evolving, and deadly. The FBI's goal is to detect and stop terrorist attacks and are focused on potential criminal violations, violence, and threats of violence. Anti government or anti authority violent extremism is one category of domestic terrorism, as well as the FBI's top priorities. We are all committed to protecting the safety and constitution of all Americans. Bullshit. And would never open an investigation based solely on the First Amendment protected activity, including the person's political beliefs or affiliations. Bullshit. I call the lie. Remember that FBI were investigating people simply because they were Catholics. All right. That was just this past April. FBI used undercover agents to investigate the Catholics. All right, this is out of Richmond, Virginia. So yeah, this is not a I mean that's a lie from the beginning. You know, and they were attempting to that the agency was investigating a supposed link between traditionalist Catholics and the far right nationalist movement. Remember that? That was just this past April that came out. So for the FBI to say that they're not investigating people because of their political beliefs or affiliations, hell, they're investigating people because of their religious beliefs. If you are a conservative, this and FBI here is you've got a chance to be on their watch list. And you know the and again here, Biden's Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall. The use of violence to pursue political ends is a profound threat to our public safety and national security. Which group is more likely by proof? We've got one instance of conservatives being anywhere near violent, using some violence, versus years and years and hundreds, if not thousands, of incidents of left wingers being violent and destructive. But because you may support Donald Trump, you're more this administration and this FBI believes that you are more likely to be that they want to call you a terrorist and put you on a terrorist watch list. This is and what they're doing and what the FBI has done is they label Trump supporters, MAGA people, as anti-government. Well, it's called AGAAVE, anti-government, anti-authority, violent extremism. That's what they call us. That's what they call people who are Trump supporters. That's the label they put on us. And I find it interesting they want to call us anti-government when what we're calling for is the bringing back of our government. Good point. Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm guilty of wrong think. I'm guilty of wrong think because uh, I think some people deserve a wood chipper. I think other people deserve, you know, baths of hot tar. I have to question why there's so little news. I haven't seen much news about uh, the possibility that we've had, the very strong possibility that we've had Iranian spies in the Biden administration, in our Department of Defense. That's what scares me. What scares me is that we've got a Iranian-born Pentagon official is keeping her top secret security clearance, despite that the government is saying that she is part of a influence campaign being run by Tehran. That's more concerning to me than what I or someone else who just happens to support Trump. I mean, most Trump supporters right now, we're not out there committing the violence. We're not out there protesting. We're not the ones out there setting fires to trash cans everywhere and beating the crap out of people. We're not the ones out there blocking roads and destroying vehicles and keeping people from getting to work. That's not conservatives out there doing that. But this administration is more concerned about us than they are the people that's actually out there being violent. They're actually out there tearing things up. Now, FBI Director Christopher Wray still says that the breach of the Capitol building was not an isolated event. Really? Show me where these other events are. Show me. Show me where groups of conservatives, groups of Trump supporters have gotten together and taken over buildings. Show me where we've gone in and taken over elected officials' offices. Show me where we've shut down roads in protest. We haven't, there hasn't been there. Not conservative groups, but you want to talk about liberal groups and getting out there to do it? That's easy to find. That is easy to find left wing protests that have gone out there and destroyed things. The FBI and DHS report concludes social political developments such as narratives of fraud in the recent general election. Narratives. No, there was fraud in the recent general election. The emboldening impact of the violent breach of the U.S. Capitol. Which one of the dozens of takeovers of the Capitol? Okay. There's only one that's been done by conservatives. Only one done by people that could be called conservative. And Director Wray, why is it that you still refuse to say how many people that you had in those crowds on January 6th? How many globies did you have out there that were instigating this? You still refuse to say how many people you had out there in the mob and who they were and what they were doing. You still refuse to say why. Why is it you refuse to answer that question when it's put forth to you? Conditions related to the COVID-19 pandemic and conspiracy theories promoting violence. Again, which side's been just promoting, but actually committing violence? Which side gets out there and actually talks openly about committing violence and that people should be killed? You know, did you investigate Madonna when she said that she wanted to blow up the White House? Did you investigate Johnny Depp when he asked when's the last time an actor killed a president? Did you investigate any of these other people that made direct threats and music videos and such against Donald Trump and other Republicans? Were any of them investigated? Were any of them arrested? Why is it you just sent a man to jail for 22 months for a meme suggesting that liberals could text their vote in to support Hillary, but you haven't even arrested the woman that did the same thing about conservatives voting by text? Nearly the exact same meme, but you went after the conservative and you got him going to jail for 22 months. But you didn't do anything about the liberal people who did the exact same thing. I wonder why. I wonder why you did that, Department of Justice, FBI. Why did you go after the one and not the others? As Retro says, you got some of them are guilty of wrong think. Now there's a lot here in this Newsweek article, and I it was a subtle change, little noticed by gigantic departure for the bureau. Trump and his army of supporters were acknowledged as a distinct category: domestic violent terrorist or violent extremists. Even as the FBI was saying publicly that political views are never part of the criteria to investigate or to prevent domestic terrorism. If you are a supporter of Trump, you are acknowledged as a distinct category of domestic terrorist, domestic violent extremist. Just being a supporter of Trump, you're on this list. You can't. Where's the Antifa investigations? Where are the people going to jail who are supporters of Antifa? Who are out there? Where are the people that actually did damage to these hundreds of protests that went on? Our our federal government, our Department of Justice, and this is just my opinion, our Department of Justice has gotten to the point to where it's a farce. I would, and I don't see how it could happen. Do we, what we do, how we survive it? But do we need to tear down? I mean, actually just fire everybody and start over from scratch? Just go in and do a massive house cleaning? Because it's not just who is the director, but it's the lifelong bureaucrats within the federal government. Let's go back to when Trump was actually president. And we had government employees in Washington, D.C., putting out videos on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and every place else proclaiming how they were doing everything in their power to stop Trump and the agenda and his agenda, to stop him from keeping his promises. And let's not forget, we had two FBI agents proclaiming the fact that Peter Strzok and his girlfriend, that Trump would never get to be president, if he did, they had ways to stop him. Let's not forget Chuck Schumer saying, don't piss off the security, don't piss off the FBI, the Secret Service, and such, because they've got 6 ways from Sunday of coming after you. Don't make the FBI mad at you because they'll come, they will get you. Let's not forget all of these things because they actually happened. It's like that judge here, or not the judge, but, well, it was the judge, but coming out of one of the hearings, the female prosecutor come out and said that the judge basically said the judge had already made up his mind on Trump's conviction. And this is before the trial even started. Uh, I'm, I'm actually trying to find the the video. Ah, come. Okay, let's see if I can find Anita's post here real quick. Where is it? Here we go. Anita Church Adams. Let's see if I can find her. She just reposted that video not too long ago. Uh, Here we go. I think this is it here. Come on. Here, let me share this for you. Okay, did you hear that? Okay, let this is the prosecutor, and listen to what she is saying here about the judge. The trial is ongoing. The trial is ongoing. The judge has already made up his mind. The trial is still ongoing. Oh, you didn't hear that, Retro? Oh, man. Okay. Well, let me try this again. Whoops. I don't want that. Present, share screen, make sure audio. All right. Back this up here.
The judge has already made a decision with respect to the summary judgment. There is
The judge has already made his decision in respect to the summary judgment. Turn that up even louder.
I always look forward to justice. Thank you very much. And let me also remind you that the judge has already made a decision with respect to the summary judgment. There is sufficient evidence to prove.
Did the audio come through that time? Let Okay, come here. Uh, okay, the audio did come through that time. Okay, great. The trial is ongoing, and this woman, this is the prosecutor, she's saying the judge has already made his mind up. This is the second time she's come out and said this. It's absolutely disgusting that, why would a prosecutor, I'm scrolling down to see if I can find the first time she said it. Uh, she said it again not too long ago. Anita here on TikTok, she's done a real good job on posting these clips. And I don't see it here. But yeah, this isn't the first time that woman has said that. She has said it before. And I was going to bring it up before, and life hits. Hey, morning, Shio. Um, how long before Stephen King writes a novel about this? I don't know. Honestly, and here, I quit reading Stephen King halfway through The Dome. So it's been a long time since I've read a Stephen King book. And I don't even own any anymore. I gave them all away. I gave my complete Stephen King collection away to someone else. I just didn't have room for them anymore. Oh, last night's shooting in Maine. I'm waiting for the dust to settle before I come out because I'm hearing too many different things. Of course, it's sad that people, I'm not happy that people lost their lives. Um, there's a, I've heard reports dealing with that shooting last night that the guy, while he was a firearms trainer and such in the past, he's been undergoing psychiatric treatments, that he has gone into places talking about hearing voices and such, and that he told people that he was going to go out and do this. Like I said, I'm hearing a lot of stuff. I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there, but I'm not, I don't know what happened. I mean, of course, you're going to have the left wing come out here claiming that we need to ban ARs and AKs, these deadly weapons of war. That's going to happen. They're jumping on it, but this guy, there are no laws that would have prevented him from what I know right now from doing what he did. You couldn't make a law to prevent from what happened. And that's unfortunate. You know, there's a lot of families grieving right now, and I'm not going to use their grief, and anybody that does use their grief to push political agenda, I just hope it comes back and bites them in the ass. So, yeah, hey, Retro, you're right. The Dark Tower series was really good, and I was extremely disappointed in the movie. Extremely disappointed in the movie, but that really needed to be made into a mini series. That I mean, they could easily turn that into a television series and just shot the books because that was good. That there was a lot of good things in that. So yes, Raman, I'm familiar with your love for the Tommy Knockers and how much you just loved the movie. You thought that was the greatest movie ever. I'm not going to pick on Ramen today. I can't pick on her anymore. You know, here's another article on the FBI. We'll go over this real brief. Uh, and when I mean brief, this last 10, 15 minutes. Dozens of FBI sources gave criminal investigation on the Bidens that the Department of Justice tried to discredit as foreign disinformation. And that's Senator Grassley making this claim. And Grassley is not known for making stuff up out of thin air. He is just not known to do that. So, based on information provided my office over a period of years by multiple whistleblowers, there appears to be an effort within the Justice Department to shut down investigations on the Bidens. Yep, there's no audio to this. So, let's see here. There appears to be an effort within the Justice Department and the FBI to shut down investigative activity relating to the Biden family. Such decisions point to a significant political bias affecting the decision making, not only the Attorney General and FBI Director, but also line agents and prosecutors. The senator notes whistleblower allegations claim that the Bureau received information about first son Hunter Biden's criminal, financial, and related activity in 2020, but ultimately shut it down based upon false accusations of his subject to foreign disinformation. Remember, the FBI is ones to shut down and Uh, their 20 some odd former security people that shut down the investigation into Hunter's laptop prior to the election. And how remember how quickly the news media jumped on that. You know, oh, no, 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 there's no truth to this because look, we got all these people, all these supporters, Biden supporters or anti-Trumpers, uh, saying that laptop is Russian disinformation. There's no truth to that. We can't trust what what the FBI, when you can't trust the FBI, what they put out because of their political bias. How can you trust anything that they uh, say about an individual? That's what I'm saying. I can't trust. I remember back in the day when I could, when the FBI officially said something, I could actually believe it. Retro, I won't take that back. And the media will excuse it as, well, he's just doing what he can because he loves his son. He, this is his son. Of course he's going to help him. He's going to protect him as much as he can. But yeah, I expect if that happens, there'll be a blanket pardon for any and all crimes committed prior to this date. So, yeah, I and the media won't have, and the vast majority of the journalists and such won't have one negative thing to say about it. Anyway, back to the disinformation assessment was created by FBI supervisory intelligence analyst Brian Alton, who explains the report was used by the FBI HQ team to improperly discredit negative Hunter Biden information as being disinformation and cause investigative activity to cease. There was one interview I was listening to. Guy was a former banker. One of the people involved in the interview, the, being interviewed, was a former banker. And the suspicious activity reports, SROs, he said normally somebody would get one. He goes, in the number of years that he was at the bank, he saw only a few, less than a half a dozen over all the years. And never two of them against the same person or the same account. Yet Hunter Biden and the Biden family had dozens of them over a few years. And nothing happened. No investigations. some of the things that Grassley said. Some of the other things Grassley pointed out here was that in 2019, the FBI field office closed a 205B kleptocurrency case. The owner of the Ukrainian over Burisma. At the same time, Hunter Biden's seat on Burisma's board of directors was under heavy scrutiny as a result of former President Donald Trump's impeachment over his infamous phone call with the Ukrainian president. Yeah, the one that the army colonel who didn't like Trump and was Ukrainian by birth said was such a bad call, but when you actually listen to the call, I didn't hear anything wrong with that phone call. When they released the tapes of it, there was nothing wrong with that phone call. An FBI informant alleged in 2020 that unpronounceable described a 10 million bribery allegation against Joe and Hunter Biden, but that investigation was closed down. The informant recalled that during 2016 it cost 5 million to pay one Biden and 5 million to pay another. So the FBI sat and just shut down investigation after investigation after investigation. Oh, tired. Yeah. I mean, Shift, pencil neck Shift. I don't understand how in the hell he has gotten away with what he's gotten away with uh, within Congress. I just don't understand how he's gotten away with it. The man lied under oath. The man lied, flat right lied about during the impeachment trial and the investigations coming up to the impeachment. The man is on record lying to dozens of reporters and interviews. Nothing has happened. I just don't understand it. It does not make good sense to me that he's being protected the way he is. The media, I mean, again, we the media plays such an important role in our government. Nothing's a scandal unless the media determines it's a scandal. That's why Obama got off, you know, drama free, scandal free Obama. Because the media didn't let anything become a scandal. Lois Lerner should have been a hell of a huge scandal because there was indications that went right up to Joe Biden and Obama. Everything Lois Lerner did with the IRS. That had trails going right up to Biden and Obama. But the media just let it go. They didn't talk about it. There's the gun running Americans were killed by guns that the FBI sent to Mexico and attempting to push a narrative that would allow them to get guns banned. And nothing happened. The and I'm not the only person that rails about the media, and today won't is definitely not the first time, and it won't be the last time that I've said negative things about our media. But they do the country no service when they march in lockstep. And why is our media the way it is? It's because of they were pushed in journalism school. You know, th- there was a time period when you asked somebody going through journalism classes, "Why do you want to become a journalist? Why do you want to become I want to change the world." Journalism's not supposed to be about changing the world. It's supposed to be about reporting the facts. Who, what, where, when, and what happened. But when you don't report the facts, when you spin the facts, when you lie by omission, and the people don't find out about what's going on. And whenever somebody does come out and starts talking about what's going on, the media in concert with each other step up and say this guy is peddling conspiracy theories, and they mock him for conspiracy theories. So there, there's a lot of things going on in our government and our media today that is, they're and the Supreme Court case that's coming up here next session, this upcoming session. Uh, and I'm sad to see Alito pushed as he did to overturn lower court rulings, allowing allowing Biden administration to directly communicate with social media platforms and what to allow on their platforms. Because there was the lowercase ruling saying, Biden, you keep your fingers and mouthpieces away from these platforms. You don't get anywhere near Twitter. You don't go to Facebook. You don't go to YouTube and ask them to cancel people, to ban people, to shadow ban people, to put in to your algorithm certain words that won't get won't be allowed to be posted, etc., etc. The the government doesn't have a First Amendment right. The government doesn't have a First Amendment right. They don't have the, and when they start interfering with our First Amendment rights, using their lackeys going through social media concerns. Remember back again, call back here, DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign against Trump. All of these protests that happened at the Trump campaign stops, they were all paid for through Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC. But the media would go to Trump and say, "What are you doing to stop? Why are you allowing these protests to happen at your, why aren't you stopping these protests? It's your fault these people are out here protesting you." But when it came out that the protesters were paid through third party groups connected to Hillary Clinton and the DNC, the media shut up about it. This it is a huge it's a huge pile. It's a you yank on this string and that string moves because everything is so interconnected. It's a Gorgon's knot of things being interconnected where you can't fix any one problem by itself because in fixing this problem it leads you to that problem and doing this leads you to that. It's like what's going on in my garage right now. I'm trying to make room for a new tool chest that I just got in. Well, I start cleaning this area, and that leads me to doing this area. Then that leads, and pretty soon I'm 20 feet away from where I started, and I still don't have room to put my tool chest where it's not in the way. So, yeah, there's so much on this. There really and truly is. I don't understand how it's all going to. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I don't know if it can be fixed. And that's what's so frustrating to me. I just don't understand how I I know how we got into this problem, and unfortunately, we can't go back in the time machine and correct it. And in my opinion, how this problem got started when we allowed the left to take over our educational system. When we allowed the left to take over colleges and then the high schools, then the elementary schools, and then the kindergartens. When we allowed socialism a foothold in our educational system. I can remember when we used to say, don't worry about it. This is once they get out once these college kids get out in the real world, they'll understand that what their professors were teaching them was so much nonsense. Well, look where we're at now. What them teachers taught is now making its way into the laws. But anyway, the wife wants me to bake some bread and a cake, and she wants me to make up some more pumpkin waffles. That means I need to go buy some bacon because whenever I make waffles, I put bacon chunks of bacon into the batter into each waffle. And she wants me to make them up and put them in the refrigerator so that it's like this morning. I wanted waffles and eggs for breakfast, so I just had to take some out of the refrigerator, warm them up, fry up the eggs, and there was breakfast. So, Retro, one of these days I want to get you on stream. Okay. Now today is Thursday. Yes, it is. That means Ramen, get to bed tonight. Don't Don't stay up all night and then feel like crap tomorrow during our stream. Okay? Tomorrow's the Friday fun stream. No politics allowed. Damn it, I just put my watch on backwards. No politics allowed in the stream tomorrow. And why not? Let's go ahead and talk about some Stephen King books. Okay? But yeah, Retro, I want you on stream one day. I think you and I could have some fun. I'd like to hear what your opinion is on some of this stuff. All right? So you've got an open invite. You just tell me you got a mic and you're ready to come on, and we'll get you on. All right. But other than that, I want everybody to have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Stay out of trouble. And think about what kind of trouble you want to give me, what kind of stream you want me to do on a 500th stream, because that's going to be here in just a couple of months at the rate I go. All right. I probably ought to start planning on something for a 500th stream. But anyway, y'all have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love. And of course, love the ones that you're with. And we'll see you tomorrow.